So first off, how are you health-wise now?
Thank you for asking. Improving. 12 months into my treatment, and that includes a lot of things. With chemo back the first part of my re-diagnosis back last fall through the first part of the year, and then a holistic approach. Just had some results come back just yesterday that things are improving. So thank you for asking.
So what does that mean? Tell me, like, what stage are you at? Like, tell me your exact diagnosis.
Went from stage 3, initial diagnosis, now down to stage 2. I have no more inflammation, lesions in my lymphatic system. Just have some blood work numbers that need to come down and normalize.
Okay. So treatment-wise at the moment, are you still having chemo? I know you were doing chemo, then it was a natural approach. What are you doing now?
Well, it's all natural now, and we're keeping an eye on what we need to do. Had it progressed with the natural approach, we would have gone to a more intense chemotherapy regimen. We began to do chemo last October, December, and the latter part of January was my last round of chemo.
So you've reduced your cancer by taking the natural approach, by doing all of the health things that you've been doing and detoxing and so forth.
That's correct. Yes, ma'am. I have. It's worked out very well for me and my lifestyle, and as well as my body responding. People don't realize this is my third go-around battling this cancer. I was first diagnosed in 2009, did intensive chemo, the traditional 3 or 4 days a week, every 3 or 4 weeks for 4 months. And then it reappeared back in 2013, and I did a all diet with a low dose oral chemo, and it eradicated, and then it came back with a vengeance last October.
Okay, and what is the chance of it increasing again?
It's highly probable, honestly. It's something that you have to monitor from what I can understand. I'm hoping for the best. I'm a positive guy, and hopefully that we can, with a lifestyle change, the way I eat, food now is my medicine as opposed to just to sit down and let's have a burger and some fries like I used to. I don't do that anymore.
Okay. I mean, obviously, your health has become the biggest storyline this season.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yes, I'm breaking some news too.
Yes, tell me.
So, people are saying that you're making it up, that you don't have cancer. You've of course said that that's not true, and you do. Tell me now, like, how do you feel? Like, you definitely have cancer. You're still sticking by that.
Absolutely, I'm sticking by that. It's how you treat cancer, what you walk through. My third time is a very private situation. I realize I'm on a reality TV show, and you put your life out there. I necessarily didn't want to even talk about my cancer this year. I was diagnosed in October. We began filming the latter part of January, and by then I was wrapping up what I hoped to have been at the time my last round of chemo, and then filmed from January till May. And I had asked Vicki if we could just kind of keep it under wraps as best we could. I didn't really want to take the backlash of people questioning anything or treatments or alternatives. I just wanted to keep it very private, make my own decisions with my family, my close friends, my doctors. And it just didn't work out that way. It leaked out in the first month that I was re-diagnosed, and it doesn't matter how that leaked out, it did. And then it just kind of took a life of its own. Unfortunately, I wish it wasn't true. It would be a lot easier if I didn't have cancer, just to be honest with you. The daily grind, the routineness of reminding yourself that I'm sick and I need to do certain things, and I don't need to do certain things.
Yeah. Is there anything about your storyline with Vicki that has been manufactured?
No. Anybody that knows Vicki personally, privately, publicly, she is what you see is what you get, and that was great back in the early days of reality TV. This is her 10th season. In the beginning, I believe reality TV, at least her show, wanted the access of all access, the extravagant lifestyle where she lived, self-made woman living in Coto de Casa in a man's world. And now it's become more about not the lifestyle, but the cattiness and the drama.
Yeah.
And that's sad. It's transitioned from that. Vicki's never changed. She's the same on camera and off camera. And you either love her for that or you hate her for that. But don't we want a 51-49 split? You don't want 90% of the people to like Vicki. You want 50-50 kind of.
Yeah.
Makes for good TV.
Going back to the cancer,
Certainly.
let's look at why people are criticising it. They're saying, and let's kind of look at the red flags so that you can address each one individually. So first of all, people say you don't look sick.
What does cancer look like?
I don't know. I don't know what stage 2 or stage 3 looks like, but...
We all have these preconceived notions in our mind about what cancer looks like. I've had 6 family members, direct family members, die of cancer, various types of cancer, brain cancer, melanoma, etc. They all did nothing but chemotherapy treatment. Right, wrong, or indifferent, it was their decision.
Right.
And in their latter stages, sure, they were on hospice, laying in a bed, very frail, etc. When you're first diagnosed, you're healthy on the outside. You may feel bad, but people looking at you don't know what you feel and how you feel. They can't tell if you have cancer or not. And let's just remember how all this came about. It's because a psychic suggested that I didn't have cancer. He didn't see it. That was his words. Come on, a psychic. I took it one way. When I heard that he said that, I said, well, great, a psychic sees things in the future, so he sees it going away.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's not the way the ladies took it. That wouldn't make a good storyline.
Yeah. The other thing is that people, it was like noted on the show that you were traveling and that you were drinking alcohol, and that's not a way to treat cancer.
Thanks for asking. I'll be happy to clarify that. We did the chemotherapy again, October, December, the end of January. We started filming literally the week that I was to begin my 3rd round of chemo. Now, what a round for me meant was October, December, and January, I came in for 1 day worth of treatment. It wasn't 3 or 4 days in a row. So I went 1 day every 6 weeks, City of Hope. And certainly the first week or 2 after your chemotherapy treatment, your immune system is down, obliterated, you don't feel like traveling, etc. We weren't filming October and December, January. We filmed the last week of January, and I was on my 6th week from my 2nd round of chemo. We filmed first on a Tuesday, and I had my 3rd round and final round on a Thursday. When I first drank was 2 months after that on the show, the end of March. It was for my birthday and for Vicki's birthday. The only 2 times I actually drank alcohol. That was 2 months post. Now, does that in the diet? It's not in the diet. It's all about balance. But for those 2 special days on the show, I had 2 cocktails those 2 days.
Yeah.
So.
Megan, which we'll talk about in more depth afterwards, said that she had contacted an ex-girlfriend of yours who claimed that you had faked cancer in the past.
Another misunderstanding, obviously. If we want to go where we believe people on blogs and what they post, in particular exes, if I apply that same type of logic to anybody that's on reality TV, giving people a platform to air their grievances, that ex-girlfriend that is in question, another misunderstanding. She was kind of ticked that at the time when I was seeing her, I left her to see Vicki and began dating Vicki in 2011. And she posted a blog that what kind of a horrible person I was. And it was very hurtful, but she had every right to post what she wanted to. In the midst of that, in 2009, I was dating this lady, and I did have my 1st round of chemo for non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. And at the same time, I thought I also had nose cancer. We broke up in the midst of me getting treated, and I never told her otherwise. I ended up not having nose cancer. A year later, when I saw her again, I said, I didn't have cancer, nose cancer, I had non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. What she was referring to, she just mixed the stories and said, hey, he faked having nose cancer. I didn't fake having nose cancer. I thought I had it.
I just want to point out as well, I'm saying all of this, not because this is how I feel.
I understand,
but just
totally.
because this is what people are going to ask. This is what they're going to think when they see this. They're going to have so many questions, and we just have to handle it right now.
No problem.
The other thing is Brianna talking about how she claims that you told her you had pancreatic cancer and then you changed it to pancreatitis.
Thanks for asking that. I'm happy to clear that up. 2009, when I was first diagnosed, lymphatic system, they stage your, as I understand, I'm not a physician, but I feel like I can almost be one with what I've been through.
Yes.
They create lesions and inflammations around certain organs in your lymphatic system. Okay, your spleen, your pancreas, your abdomen, whatever the case may be. And when I first was diagnosed, I was speaking to Vicki as a professional to professional. I met Vicki in 2007. We started dating in latter part of 2010. And so we met for a period of time. We didn't speak for a couple of years, and then we saw each other again, and I was going through my initial round of chemo in 2009. And I shared with her that I had a lesion around my pancreas. So she communicated that to her daughter, whom I'd never met at the time,
Right.
that I had pancreatic cancer. I never said I had pancreatic cancer. I've never had a conversation with Brianna directly about my cancer. When I read that she said that, I was like that, scratching my head. I've been around Brianna 5 to 10 times in 4 years.
Right.
Never once have I divulged anything about my medical history. She took something that her mother shared with her, twisted it, and said, I said all that stuff, and that's just not true.
Have you had the same oncologist all the way through?
I have not. I was in
Different?
MD Anderson in Houston,
Okay.
2009, City of Hope, 2013 and 2014, and then transitioned to Orange County.
Okay. Another red flag.
Mm-hmm.
The scans, which Megan claims that Newport Imaging, which is a company that's on the scan document, does not do the kind of scans that you needed.
Well, Newport Imaging referred me to Hoag Hospital, which is where I did the actual test. The results came back on Newport Imaging letterhead.
Okay.
That's pure and simple. I go to Hoag Cancer Institute for that.
Okay. Newport Imaging, there was a story a few days ago. I have no idea if it's true, so that's why I'm asking you, saying that they're considering suing you for defamation because their
For fraud,
sign has been...
for fraud,
yes,
right.
That's right, sorry.
Yeah.
Is that true? Like, what have you heard about that?
Nothing. I mean, you can't believe everything you read, hear, or see, and then I think that was just a source trying to feed the fire, fuel the fire, that I was in trouble, so to speak. I haven't heard anything from Newport Imaging.
I looked at the preview for the reunion, and it seems like Vicki is now questioning your diagnosis as well. How does that feel?
Well, when Vicki gets in a box, Vicki she's a peacekeeper as opposed to a peacemaker. There's a big difference. If you want to keep peace with somebody, you just kind of go along or try to solve the issue for them and then get out of the way and move on. Yeah. Making peace is, hey, here's where we differ. Let's come to a resolution and let's be able to move forward as adults. Vicki, prior to the reunion, was via email telling me, listen, I'm feeling very weak. I'm going to be on an island by myself. I'll do my best. And then when she gets bombarded with information and intel that begins to maybe have some questions as opposed to giving, hey, okay, I'll hear this, but let me give the other side an opportunity to answer these questions before I make my decision, that's what a mature adult does. And she does that more times than not, don't get me wrong. Post the reunion, she said to me, I truly believe everything that you've told me, and the ladies just backed me into a corner. I haven't seen any previews for the reunion.
Okay.
So to answer your question, in the heat of the moment, I fully expected Vicki to respond like she did, and that's happened in prior reunions, as you well know.
So right now, she does believe you?
She does.
Did she go with you to any doctor appointments?
She did.
And I'm not talking about the alternative doctor appointments. I'm talking about chemotherapy. Like, did she sit with you while you were having chemotherapy?
She actually came into the latter part of my first round of chemo in October. And the question was, well, did you actually see them put the chemotherapy in the IV and actually put the needle in his arm? When she got there, I had the needle in my arm. So she said, I didn't actually see them put the chemo in the bag, and I didn't ask if it was water or saline or what. So, but she certainly saw me sick, the second and third day from that first round. The second and the third round, she was traveling, and I had friends and family pick me up, go with me, etc.
It must be so hard having America question
the world. Yeah, it is. But you know what? I know the truth, and I really don't owe any other people an explanation. Just because you put your world out there on TV, I get that, and they can have their opinions, but it's just that to me. It's their opinions. I don't get into, nowhere else in my life have I ever had any group of women question certain things like this. It's only, in my opinion, for relevance on a show, manufactured drama, to be relevant. I mean, Megan, a 30-year-old, comes in and attacks the matriarch of the show. Now she's relevant, right? And the media, and she has a voice, and she's been given a platform, and she's taken that to new heights, if you will. That makes me sad. She's all about finding truth and going to the source. I've had a conversation with Megan twice. She hasn't. We've talked about my cancer one time briefly in a group setting at Cut Fitness, when I thought the ladies were coming at it from a sincere approach. When I found out that they weren't sincere about my well-being, and I found out that a psychic had said 3 days earlier he didn't think I had cancer, and Megan said after we talked about me stopping chemotherapy against my oncologist, Western medicine, alternative medicine, they're not gonna coincide a lot. And yet it's the practice of medicine, Melanie, right? So if they're practicing on me, it's my life. And so when I found out that I left that Cut Fitness, having shared with them my desire to pause chemo, which is what I said, and I was going to give these antioxidants, not just resveratrol, a whole host of a regimen of antioxidants and nutraceuticals, if you will, that I still take, 40-something pills a day. Obviously, it's working. In conjunction with what I've already had as far as the chemo, it's working. When I left those, then Megan brings up what a psychic says, Brooks doesn't have cancer. Why didn't she say that in front of me? Yeah. It's just another relevant storyline.
Yeah. Through researching for this interview, I looked on a lot of comment sections of websites. I know it's not always the best place to look, but I have to kind of work out what people think. And it's not just the women that are questioning you, of course. There's so many people out there that are questioning you. Why is your word not good enough?
I think it's because of how Bravo, the show, has chosen to, I use the word pigeonhole, maybe that's a Southern term, the way they characterize me as a human being on the show. Initially, let's go back 4 years ago, if I might.
Yeah, of course.
I'm an entrepreneur from Mississippi, the poorest state in the country. That's not news, that's just the fact. One of the poorest states in the country. And then I come and I began dating a matriarch of Orange County Housewives, who is a self-made, not college-educated woman who has made it in the business she's in and has been the matriarch of the show. And obviously people began to say in the show, I'm after her money.
You're a gold digger.
I'm a gold digger. And nothing could be further from the truth. And that's the hard part. So right out of the gate, first year, it began to have this whole, what we want to show was that you don't have to settle. Vicki didn't settle with her marriage to Don. It failed. And for that, she was sad, but she wanted more in her life. And at the time, we wanted to be able to show the world that we were a couple that was in love, mismatched maybe in some areas, but matched very much so. We had a lot of chemistry and some compatibility. Some inequities in both, unequally yoked, I think Vicki used recently and at the reunion or whatever. And vice versa. There are some things that we were unequally yoked that I was better at that she was as well. And it complemented each other instead of contradicted each other. We had hoped, like she had done for Tamra and Eddie, through Tamra's divorce with Simon, that they would have been more supportive of the transition. As opposed, we became a target. And people who know me best, friends, family, even Vicki and my close couple friends, outside of this group of women, they know who we really are. Why is it that we have people come over and when people are sick or lose a loved one, you don't question that. You surround them and bring them, in the South, you bring them a meal or whatever the case may be and pray for them or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. I think questioning whether somebody has cancer and has made up a diagnosis is shocking.
Yes, it is.
And the fact that it's continued tells me that people just don't like you or they think you're a con artist.
Well, that makes me sad. At the same time, again, I know the truth, and I have to block out the noise, and I have to realize where that is being initiated from. It was initiated on the show, in my opinion, from Tamra's psychic. I will tell you, After the reunion of season 9, Tamra made a comment to some group of people, common group of friends, that she had the most horrible season of her life, and she was pissed that Vicki had a good season. Vicki and I had our 3rd season together. Last season was a phenomenal season, and she said this year is going to be Vicki's time. So Tamra's psychic brings up he's faking cancer. So it's kind of bizarre to me.
People who are watching this who still don't believe you, and there will be some, of
Sure
course,
they will. Sure.
And a lot, it may be. What else can you say? What else can you do?
What else can I do?
Yeah.
I don't know what else I can do other than...
Because you've shown your scan results.
Well, I've shown a scan result for sure. And again, I struggled with that. I'm glad you brought that up. Who gets backed into a corner to show something so private?
I know, but that's what I do think, and I agree with you.
Right.
But then I do think when you sign up for reality TV and it becomes a storyline, and I know that you say that that wasn't necessarily your decision, exactly, but it happens, and then that's the consequence of that.
Let me kind of give a different perspective. I signed up for it indirectly. I signed up for being with Vicki and being her man, so to speak. Vicki signed a contract to have her life out there. Yeah. And the sad part for me was the focus became somebody other than a housewife. It became a supporting cast, if you will.
You're a villain. Yeah, yes. You're the villain character.
I'm a supporting cast and not even married to Vicki from that perspective. And so I don't know what else to say. They've determined, listen, if I produce other documents, which I've got plenty of, a letter from an oncologist or whatever the case may be, people are already going to make up their mind and say, well, he forged that, or it's not true, we don't believe him. So it's never ending. And the way you put out a fire is you quit feeding it kindling. You don't put more wood on the fire.
But it's not going away.
Well, I'll be old news in 2 more months.
Maybe.
I will.
But I don't think they're going to let it go away, because the storyline really has been such a big part of this season. You have a choice, obviously, to decide that you're going to get rid of the kind of confidentiality, that you can put your doctor up to be interviewed. Like, is that something that you would consider doing?
I'm absolutely in discussions now with how we can do that.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And to take a lie detector test. I'm trying to think of all the things you can do, because for some reason your word, just people aren't believing it. I'm not saying that I don't believe it.
I understand.
I'm just saying that when I look online and I know when people watch this, they just, for whatever reason, they're not believing you. And it makes me sad, you know.
Sure, I understand. Here's the thing. It's reciprocated amongst when I hear Tamra speak or do interviews, or Megan speak or do interviews. I don't really believe what they say either, because I know the truth. And so when they say, hey, we're going to go to the source, we're going to go to the source. Let's talk about Shannon's husband's infidelity, etc. That became a storyline recently as well. And Shannon got upset with Vicki about disclosing that she had had that David had had an affair to Billy and to Rhonda, right? Yeah. They got upset because they didn't go to the source, and it was hearsay, and Vicki was spreading gossip. Well, that's what these ladies have done. Not one of them have come to me individually, on or off camera, while we're filming or not. I think Megan has made herself relevant at 30 years old by being the mouthpiece for some of the ladies on the show. And given the fact that Tamra made the comment she did after season 9, that this was going to be Vicki's year in the box, so to speak, it made me an easy target. Another thing that makes me an easy target is I don't fight like those ladies fight. They fight below the belt. Yeah. I was brought up a little bit differently, and for that, that's sad for me on the outside. But what am I supposed to do? Argue, fight, cuss with women? I don't do that. It's just not going to happen.
What's been your level of stress going through this?
It's been hard. It's been very hard. Thank you for asking. It's been more difficult on my kids and my parents and my friends, my close friends who've been there with me. Hard to give those guys.
It must be so hard.
You know, I've got a physician friend in Orange County that the second and third round of chemo that I had, I was staying at Vicki's house. She was out of town, unable to be there, and it was something unavoidable for her. I'm not mad at her for that. she's gotten grief for that as well, and that's a decision as a couple you make. Either you're okay with it or you're not, and we were okay with it. Listen, I signed up for being with Vicki, and she's very busy all the time, and she takes flack for that. But because she's busy, she's very successful in a lot of areas of her life. But my doctor friend, with me getting chemo, with me there for 2 or 3 days for the weekend, seeing me throw up, seeing me take my meds, seeing me do this, come on. He would like to have a voice as well, but it never ends. It's just a TV show built for drama. They could say, hey, I paid for that doctor to do that. I paid somebody to say that. It just never ends. It will end. I will be old news because I'm no longer going to be part of the show.
Yeah. How old are your kids?
I have 4 kids. I have 2 boys and 2 daughters, 24, 21, 16, and 7.
How do you explain what's happened to them?
My oldest 2, they know it's TV. That's all you have to do for a rational, mature adult. You say, hey, listen, it's TV. It's built for drama. It's edited. You don't see everything. What people don't realize, while they recognize me, Mel, they don't know me. They only know me from the show. And for each episode, we film 25 to 30 hours for 6 to 8 minutes per episode. So how can you get a complete glimpse of an individual when you only get a snapshot? You don't. You're not at a movie watching the movie. You're getting literally it's like me putting one photograph up and showing you a picture of somebody, and you think you know them from that picture. That's just not accurate.
Do you regret being involved this season?
I don't believe in regret because nobody held a gun to my head. I at some point obviously made a conscious decision to try to hopefully show. Remember when we first started filming the latter part of January, last week in January, we made the decision to tell the ladies that I was dealing with cancer in the midst of Vicki caring for me and me challenged with my own mindset, thought process of trying to beat cancer. I began to be the caregiver for her, to be a support system for her. And isn't that what couples are supposed to do? A support system. We're supposed to be there for each other through thick and thin, through the good times. Anybody can be together through the good times.
Yeah.
But the bad times, the struggles, the conflict resolution that goes along with that, it can either make you stronger as a couple or it can tear you apart.
So that's the testing time.
And unfortunately, the latter happened for us. It tore us apart. But hey, when you're in a relationship, you're either all in, and if you've got one foot out, then you're really not in a committed relationship. And we had made that decision in October to be all in, to see if we could cohabitate and we can make it a go as a couple by, being together 24/7, 7 days a week.
But how does she coerce you as far as the cancer? Like, what does she say to you?
Nothing she said in particular. I mean, listen, it's her job. It's no different from somebody who takes a job or has a job with a company, and all of a sudden their job progresses, they get a promotion, and they go from having a 9 to 5 Monday through Friday office job to traveling 4 days a week. It has an impact on the family structure or the relationship structure. If you're with somebody at night, every night, having dinner together, and then all of a sudden they're gone 4 or 5 nights a week, it changes the dynamic.
Yeah.
That's where I rationalized it in my mind. I'm a grown man. Vicki didn't have to talk me into it. It was a matter of a course of several conversations over a period of weeks that we made the decision that, hey, we were going to show it, and what could it hurt? Little did I know, a psychic would start the fire.
Yeah.
And that's a psychic and a blog, mind you. So if we're going to take the word of a psychic and a blog as truth, if I did that, then everybody's got a nice story. But I'm not going to bring up that Simon hates Tamara and that she has issues with her 16-year-old daughter. I mean, I'm not going to bring that all up. I just did.
Yeah,
but,
you did.
But I'm not going to bring up Megan's past relationship issues as a former. She's been divorced once already at 30. I've been divorced once at 48. I mean, there's a maturity level that goes along with this. And so when I said earlier, I don't play like these ladies play, that's when I made the conscious decision about 3 months ago to say, Vicki, your job is, with the Housewife franchise is unlike anything I can cope with moving forward. And for my own health, my own sanity, my own truth, it's time for me not to run from this, but to run to some peace, which is what I've done.
The stress of this situation, how has it impacted your health?
Well, I mean, the stress is obviously a key component in anybody's overall emotional and physical well-being. I can't say that the stress of the last 4 years caused my cancer to come back, but I'm certain that it didn't help it, for sure.
Yeah, it must be.
So I would never say that would ever create me having cancer again. That's not fair.
So you're over now, you're not together anymore.
We are not.
Sadly. What happens? Tell me about the end of that.
You know, people ask me that all the time, and there were a number of things, but the primary issue was the internal family conflict with Brianna. Vicki and I dated for a year prior to Brianna ever being willing to meet me, unlike Michael and unlike other members of Vicki's family. And that saddened me, but at the same time, who am I to force a young woman whom I'd never met to try to meet me and get to know me? And how can you judge somebody based off what you hear? I always try to give people the benefit of the doubt. Everybody has a history. There's two sides to every story, and I try to give people the benefit of the doubt for their story. She never gave me a chance, and one thing led to another, and the first night that I met Brianna was the very night that she told her mom that she was married, the night that she had eloped, and so she felt like then she needed to, I guess, reciprocate and cushion the blow and say, well, I'll meet your boyfriend that I don't want to meet. And I think that Brianna had some significant issues as a child growing up with some quote-unquote daddy issues, and that's become quite evident through a lot of things that transpired.
Like what?
Well, just conversations that she would have with her mother, you know, that I would hear Vicki's side of, listening to in the car or whatever the case may be. Just a lot of hurt, unresolved anger, not unlike what my 21-year-old daughter dealt with when I divorced her mom several years ago. It took her, but I gave her the space. It took her some time, a lot of counseling, and a willingness to embrace that now, while she may not have liked the fact that we divorced, she does recognize that her mom and I now are moving on and we're happier, and for our happiness and for her happiness, she needed to just embrace it, even though she didn't agree with it. Brianna never did that, and we had hoped over a course of years that she would come around and she would embrace it. And in fact, when she moved off to Oklahoma, Vicki said, well, you know, now she's out of town, we can have more of a routine life together, day in and day out. But there's a wonderful thing called a cell phone and text messages and emails and that type of thing, technology, FaceTime. It never happened, and as a matter of fact, it got more intense. And so, coupled with the show and all the things that you read out there, listen, drama sells, right? Nobody's going to write a blog about somebody that, you know, feeds the homeless or goes to church every Saturday or Sunday on the weekend, very religious, spiritual guy. That doesn't sell. That's not sexy. Drama and all the gossip, all that stuff sells. And so I think the disappointing part for me was that Brianna didn't recognize, while she benefited as a child and as a young adult being on this show and what it's brought their family financially and other opportunities with regard to a nice wedding and with regard to, you know, the exposure and the fame that comes along with being Vicki's daughter, she didn't give me the benefit of recognizing that everything written about me is not true. You can't have it both ways. There's a lot of things written about her husband that I choose to believe aren't true. But she chooses to say, hey, it's not true. But when they're written about me, the victim, not the victim, but the evil villain here, she's going to err on the side of it must be true. Why are nobody likes him?
There was an accusation that you had encouraged Brianna's husband to physically abuse her, I guess. What do you say to that?
Well, I've already apologized for that. Let me make no bones about it. It was uncalled for. It was irresponsible. And I apologize to Brianna and to Ryan and to Vicki, the public, my own family, etc. I was not an excuse. Drunk, angry, and and some things transpired with Vicki and me where she was going to pick me up from a particular place after that evening of being out with Ryan, and she changed her mind, and so I got angry. And again, I've taken full responsibility for that. I know I have, others have, I hope, have said and done things they regret in their past, and it certainly was taken out of context. I've never had a domestic abuse issue or violence charge or anything like that. It was just an off-color comment that was very unfortunate.
You've never had a charge. Have you ever been physically abusive towards a woman?
No, ma'am. I have not.
Okay. Never. What about verbally abusive towards a woman?
No, I mean, arguments from time to time, but nothing that I would consider to be verbal abusive at all.
I would understand from Brianna's perspective, hearing that.
Sure.
Why she wouldn't like you.
Sure, and I get that. And you know what? I offered a page-and-a-half apology to them as recently, again, as of last Christmas, with no response back from them. And that's their prerogative. All I can do is apologize. And if they choose not to forgive, that's, again, their prerogative. But I choose now not to move forward in a relationship with Vicki as a result of, I could never see myself in a room with Brianna and Ryan with what transpired. It's interesting, that audio, while I did something that was very wrong and off color, and I feel horrible about it, no doubt, what he did was illegal. He recorded me and released it. And in California, it's a two-party consent state. I had every legal right to pursue that, and I haven't. That doesn't do anything.
Unless it's a crime, you can record something if you feel a crime is taking place.
Well, there's no crime, and he recorded me without my consent, a two-party consent state in California, and he released it with malicious, obviously. It doesn't, you know, the world now knows that audio exists, and it's hurtful. But at the same time, he did what he did, and I said what I said, and I, as a man, have apologized, and that's all I can do. Vicki will tell you I've never treated her in such a way or made her feel that way. No woman has ever said that about me.
At what point did you know it wasn't going to work out with Vicki?
Probably, Vicki and I began going to counseling in March of this year, midway through the season, when the psychic came out. My birthday's March 20th, and on that day, by the way, was when we went to Cut Fitness. It was my actual birthday, and that's when we filmed, and I told the ladies I was choosing to pause chemo, move forward, etc. And later that night, we had dinner with David and Shannon brought up at my dinner, you know, there was something there said, and I feel like I need to tell you. It ruined the dinner, ruined my birthday. You know, it's kind of crazy. She could have waited off camera like Vicki had done many times before a year prior with Shannon and David's issues going on. You don't film that kind of stuff, and you never know what these ladies are going to say. So Vicki said, hey, you call me later, I don't want to deal with it on camera. And Vicki took some flack for that, but she was protection mode of me and for her and for us, no matter what was going to be said on TV, on camera. But when it became evident, when we heard the next day, the psychic and all this, that it was going to be an issue, and Vicki said, hey, you have to squash this, and you got to do this, you got to do that. And I said, wait a minute, I don't have to do anything. I mean, you're talking about a very private issue here, and I didn't want to film anyway with my cancer for fear that this very thing would happen. If somebody's going to ask you for your records or accuse you of faking cancer, they're not going to stop. What they're really doing is they're making an accusation about your character. That's a character assassination, is what's transpiring.
They're saying you're a liar.
That's right. Bottom line, based on my history, well, I've never lied to Tamara. Tamara's a liar. That's what her ex-husband says, so it must be true. Tamara's a monster mom. It must be true. That's what they say. That's hearsay. I try to judge people based on how they treated me. I've never seen anything but good things from Tamara off camera as a mom. She's very loving, grandmother now. Those type of things. And that's how I have tried to choose to see Tamara in that light. 3 out of the last 4 seasons now, she's turned on that. So back to the story. What caused it? I was to begin that unraveling. I said, listen, we need some third-party help. I'm not going to be influenced by you. The last 3 years on camera, I've done things with you by these women, and I'm uncomfortable with just reacting to something based on emotion. But we're halfway through filming now. We have 2 more months to film. So we began seeing of all things, a reality TV couples counselor.
Wow, that exists?
Right, it does exist. Nice niche market, right? But in essence, Melanie, what we learned was reality TV rewards abnormal behavior financially and indirectly emotionally. If you're recognized and you're famous, there's a lot of benefit that come along with that. But let's take that off camera and bring that home. All of a sudden, that abnormal behavior, if it's rewarded here, the ability to separate that at home in a home life, off camera, out of character, so to speak, and you have some abnormal behavior going on here, there's some real life issues. So as we walked through those 3 or 4 months of counseling every 2 weeks, it became evident. You can know if people are going to do the work, make some changes, do some things that are going to strengthen your relationship or not. Not all Vicki's fault, not all my fault, but as 2 grown, mature adults, having been together and dating for 4+ years at the time, we made the decision that we probably weren't going to be for forever. And when I made that statement mid-July in the counseling session, it was like a world of it's like the piano was lifted off my back, if you will. It was just like a big relief. Like, that's the answer, is that you're trying to make something for forever and force it. And when you recognize you're not going to be for forever, up until that point, you're investing time into a relationship. When you make that decision you're not for forever, that time you spend moving forward, that's a waste of time. And I'm 48, she's 53. We're not 28 and 33.
Yeah.
And so time is not on our side. We've got, dealing with health issues. We both have lives. We both have careers. I care for her deeply. I wish her nothing but the best. The 4 years we had together off camera were amazing. A lot of chemistry. People who know us well saw that. Unfortunately, TV and the portrayal of TV and Vicki's work, that's one of her jobs, that's one of her careers, is reality TV. I'm unwilling to move forward with that. And you can either, as a couple, decide that, or if one person decides that, you're no longer a couple. And that's what we decided.
Did you ever ask her to give up the show for you?
Not at all. Not my place.
If she had have given up the show for you, would you still be together?
No, we would not.
Why?
Again, I go back to the original reason you asked. It was the internal family conflict.
Right.
Brianna's certainly a part of her life, and she needs to be. I've never once asked Vicki to, don't go see Brianna and your grandkids and your son-in-law. Don't go spend time with them. Heck, when they came to film and I was asked to leave the house, I left the house because Brianna didn't want to see me. I was gone for 5 days.
Yeah.
And those are things that, listen, that's their blood, their family, their mother, daughter, and that's going to be there for the rest of their life. And they don't have an option but not to deal with that and reconcile whatever differences they have. As a boyfriend, I had options, and I chose, hey, I didn't see enough progression on Brianna and Ryan's part with really trying to make things work with their mother's decision to date me at the time. And so, I'm not a quitter, but I'm not dumb either. I'm not going to sit there and invest time and throw good time after bad time.
So you ended it.
I did.
How did she take it? How did Vicki
Hard.
take it?
It was hard. It was hard. But she'll be fine. It's better for long term.
Do you love her?
Sure I do. I love her. I want her. I want the best for her. I'm not the best for her.
But are you in love with her?
No, I'm not anymore. No, grew out of love.
It's sad.
Yeah.
It's sad. Are you still talking to her?
Yeah, we talk. The last time I actually spoke with her was about 2.5, 3 weeks ago. 3 or 4 days before they actually filmed the reunion. I had just done my interview with Andy Cohen a week prior, and so she obviously was interested about the questions that were asked and how I responded. And I haven't seen the reunion. Wasn't there. I'm reading the same things you're reading, probably. Probably not. I don't read the crap anymore. But it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Email and text every now and then, and it's certainly been a transition. I've moved from Southern California back south, and that's a better fit for me. I'm closer to my family. My mom and dad still live in North Mississippi, and I'm a 2-hour flight instead of 7, 8-hour travel day to get to them now. So that makes a world of difference for me.
There are people out there who claim that this breakup is a fake, that this is all for another storyline for another season.
I get where they're coming from, and I know where they're getting that from. Is 2 years ago in the reunion where we broke up for a period of time, and we put a Band-Aid on it. I hate to use the word, a Band-Aid on a cancer. That's a bad thing to use today, but that's what we did. And then we tried to put things into action by moving in together, growing closer together, seeing if it would work. It just didn't work this time. It just didn't work. We're no different than anybody else, two adults trying to figure out if they were going to date, take it to the next level, okay with just dating, whatever the case may be. At the time we would break up, we were okay with just dating, and then we would break up, have an argument, but it would last 3 or 4 days, or a week or two, and then we couldn't stand it. And, you know, she'd travel and I'd travel, and we'd come back and say, hey, let's just try to forget that, and let's just try to learn from it and move forward. Eventually, you have to make that decision if it's going to be for forever, and our decision came this summer.
Do you think Vicki stood up for you enough? Do you think she defended you enough? She
took so many bullets from these ladies and accusations. I can't imagine. She's a strong woman, one of the strongest women I know. Sure, I mean, how exhausting that must be physically and emotionally to everybody on the show, by the way. That's the only part she had to stand up for, and with the exception of Brianna and Ryan. Everybody else that mattered to us off the show, family, friends, etc. We got a ton of encouragement. We had a ton of friends. We did normal things. I got her involved with my Mississippi State football team, and we traveled to go see them play and go on campus and see my mom and dad and see my kids and all that kind of stuff. And it's just what normal people do.
Yeah.
You fit that in. So did she stood up for me enough? I stood up for her as well. That's what partners do. But only she could probably answer that. I mean, I don't know how she did it with this group of women for the last 4 years. But she's obviously a strong woman.
Yeah. Your future now, what are you going to do? You're in Florida.
Yeah, I'm moving to Central Florida. I'm a healthcare business consultant, so I consult with companies. I'm continuing. I can do that business with wherever I am, and thus I moved to Southern California. People ask me all the time, how did you end up in Southern California? I ended up because I met Vicki, and we were in the insurance investment business, and we met in Atlanta, Georgia, and when she filed for divorce, we decided we would try to date, and we dated for 4 or 5 months long term, and she said, hey, I'm not leaving Southern California, obviously. If you want to take this to the next level, you'll need to move here. And I did. And so I came to Southern California for that. So it was an interesting 4.5 year experiment, we'll say.
A chapter.
It was a chapter, that's right.
Gold digger.
Mm-hmm. You don't know me? Far from it.
Okay. But you have your own career.
Absolutely. And that was the other thing that the show never, of course, again, I didn't expect him to really show. I just expect him to present me as a human, as a man, as a responsible person. You know, not perfect, made mistakes in my past, but I've owned those mistakes so that we can move forward. We're not defined by our past mistakes. I've been through a divorce. I've been through, financial issues. Who hasn't since 2008? Those types of things. That doesn't make me a gold digger. I have my own money, I have my own stuff. Just because I'm with somebody who drives significant income, highly visible, and has been presented and propped up in such a way for 10 years to be this mogul, if you will, in the insurance investment world doesn't mean that I'm not. It's just that's her character, the way she's been positioned on the show.
Yeah.
But mine was, again, from Mississippi, coming to try to chase her money. That's just not true. I'm not that stupid.
People also say that you brainwashed Vicki.
Brainwashed? Yeah. Well, I can respond to that in a couple of different ways. I mean, initially, aren't we all
from your heart?
Yeah, aren't we all in a new relationship? Aren't we all just all about each other? And we do go through that. I call it growing. I don't think people change. I think people, they have a choice to grow. I'd put it like this: Mississippi, the magnolia tree is the state tree. You plant it, magnolia tree is a magnolia tree. You come back 25 years later, it's still a magnolia tree, but has it changed or has it grown? Mm-hmm. It hasn't changed. It's not an oak tree, it's a magnolia tree, but it's grown. That's all we wanted to do. I think Vicki has grown over the last 4 years. who she is as a person, emotionally, spiritually, physically, everything.
Megan claimed...
Oh, my favorite person.
I know. We're going to get onto her right now.
Megan.
She claimed that you made up your cancer in order to avoid child support payments.
Yeah, well, we can talk. If that was the case, I'd have a warrant for my arrest. My ex-wife would be yelling. Come on. That's a stretch. She made a comment that she's known people to get relief because of illness. I think that was the exact thing she said. Maybe closer to that. Megan doesn't know me. I've been around her a grand total 2 hours. I mean, how can you make that statement? She doesn't know me. That's immaturity on her part. She's 30 years old. I have a son that's 6 years younger, who's a lot more mature. My 16-year-old's more mature than Megan.
Are you paying your child support?
Absolutely. Every month.
Okay.
Thank you for asking.
It's all wrong. Simple thing. Okay, so Megan does not like you. She's gone out of her way to investigate you. How are you going to handle that? There was one report that I read that said that you might consider suing her.
Well, we sent her a cease and desist letter, pretty strong language in it for 2 pages, and she has the opportunity to say and do some certain things.
She hasn't.
Well, she could have taken some opportunities in the reunion, and it hasn't aired yet, so we'll see what airs, and we'll see what we do from there. Listen, what she does on a show for manufactured drama is one thing. What she does in the social media world is another. And she's being very malicious and childish. And I think I didn't know that I was that important to somebody else's life. I mean, she's a newlywed.
Yeah.
I think she needs to spend more energy in getting to know her husband and other things that she does, as opposed to spending time tearing other people down. Insecure people tear people down, by the way. Secure people build others up. And that's the way that I've operated my life. And so these women tend to tear people down as a general rule.
I mean, if you are telling the truth, then she has basically ruined your life, your reputation.
No, she hasn't ruined my life or my reputation.
She has made you out to be a liar, a con artist, somebody who's even faked cancer scans.
Yeah. Well, the interesting thing is nobody can ruin my life. Nobody can ruin my reputation. She can certainly use a platform. I can't make anybody say or do certain things. We're all adults. She'll grow up one day, hopefully. That's the only way I can answer that.
If she continues, will you sue her?
Stay tuned. I don't need to comment on that.
Okay. Have you heard from her since you stopped filming?
No. Well, interesting, I have. We quit filming in May. So again, I want a point of reference. I've lived it, so I want to make sure everybody's on point. Yeah. We filmed from January. Some people started in December, signed their contract. Vicki and I started the latter part of January. Completed filming the show in the latter part of May. Unfortunately, Jim's first ex-wife passed in July. Mid to latter part of July. And Vicki and I were still together at the time, and we did the right thing by sending flowers to Jimmy and to Megan and condolences, etc. We got a thank you note first week in August, and the thank you note was written from Megan. Right thing to do, proper thing to do, and that's what you would expect somebody to do. Nice 2 or 3 sentences, thank you for, the kind gesture. We're going through a lot of healing and hurt. Her last sentence struck me, though.
What was that?
We continue to keep you in our prayers. So, somebody writing a thank you note, having just attended the funeral or wake of a loved one, probably had a moment of clarity. I've never written a thank you note and said, we continue to keep you in our prayers for what? What am I keeping you in my prayers for if I'm faking cancer? What that communicated to me was she did this all just for relevance on a show, but she did have a moment of clarity and wanted to say, hey, we continue to keep you in our prayers. Why would she be praying for me?
You think she regrets it?
I don't know. Not by her social media tweets and stuff like that, but I think privately, I think she probably knows deep down that she's, doing some things that probably aren't very nice.
Are you dating again?
I am.
You are?
Yeah, Vicki is as well.
Wow.
Yeah. Hey, you know, we're dating. You can't meet people if you don't get out there. Yeah, so...
Is there anyone who's serious?
Could be very serious.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Who? Tell me
Well,
something.
listen, they want to remain anonymous as possible,
no, you've learned
for
your
sure.
lesson.
I've learned my lesson as best I can.
Yeah.
And you know what? And that's what Vicki wants that for me, and I want that for her. And so we both are exhaling, and we're enjoying our lives. And as much as I can, I'm going to try to be below the radar screen and move on with the balance of my next chapters, if you will.
I don't want to name, but how long has it been? I need to know something.
No, that doesn't really matter, does it?
It
No,
does.
no. I met her after we broke up.
Okay.
If that's what you're asking.
And you're happy?
Yes. You know what? I'm just living life with a lot less drama from that perspective. And people say, "How are you doing that with the show airing?" I said, "Look, the challenge with the show is you air for 4 or 5 months, and the delay. What was aired 2 weeks ago was filmed the first week in May. So you live it when you're filming it, and then you've got to relive it again. When you have an argument with somebody you care about, you want to kind of forget it, you know, and move on, and you move past it. And what if it replayed again for the world to see 5 months later? It's kind of tough."
Has your new girlfriend asked to see the documentation
She
that
has.
proves you have cancer?
She has, and she's seen them.
And what did she say? What was her response? Did she feel bad about asking? Like, explain that whole situation.
No, she
what
does.
happened.
She doesn't feel bad about asking, and I don't feel bad about sharing because she's sincere in wanting to know, as opposed to what others are. Their motives aren't pure. My parents have seen it. My close friends have seen documents and stuff. It's a very private thing. But when all this exploded, I said, I went to those that I care about, that I know that care about me, and I shared those documents with them and shared everything because I don't want them to doubt that at all. I don't care about these women doubting it. That's what they do.
Yeah.
They're the only people in my life that have ever doubted anything like that. I've never been through anything like this in my life. And so they're not going to change. That's their job, is to create drama.
Yeah.
And so I can just choose to remove myself. That's what I was taught.
Does Vicki know that you are serious with somebody else?
She does.
And how does she feel about that?
Well, she said she couldn't be that person, you know, longer term. And we'll see what happens. I mean, I'm not getting married tomorrow, but I mean, I'm a commitment kind of a guy, you know, and I want the same for her. She was actually the one that sent me a text because I had left something over. It took me 4 or 5 loads to get all of my stuff out of her house, and I tried to make it the first night was tough because she was there, and, you know, me taking stuff out of the closet and taking it down to my car. It was hard. But after we got beyond that, there were a couple of other trips, and she texted me. She said, "Hey, you left some shoes, and there's a box left in the 3rd room closet, whatever." And I said, "Well, just let me know when I can come over and pick that up. You know, I can come over tonight, but preferably don't want to necessarily see you or whatever." And she said, "Well, I'm actually leaving, getting picked up here in a little bit to go on a date with a doctor." I said, "Well, good for you."
Doctor?
Yeah. I was like, "You go, girl."
That's so ironic.
Can he read my scan for me?
Yeah.
Let me go.
Can he
That's right.
treat you?
That's right.
Yeah.
So, you know what? It's that that's where we've evolved to, is that she's, you know, she wants to be happy. She wants me happy. And are we going to be friends like we were? You know, that's in a story, in a fairy tale, you can do that, but it never ends that way. I mean, our lives are going to be changed forever having met each other, and they're going to go on without each other. And so a significant part in my book, if you will.
Is her dating life, is her doctor a serious
I don't
relationship?
know. I don't know.
You don't know?
That was a one-time text. I don't ask, I don't inquire, nor does she. Well, she does inquire, but I don't inquire about her.
What advice would you have for anyone dating her in the future?
Get Brianna's permission. That's my truth. I mean, listen, I've said it before privately, and my daughter's 21 and 16, and my daughter's dating someone now for 4 years. But when he first wanted to ask my daughter out, he had to ask my permission if he could ask her on a date and spend some time with her. And my 16-year-old does the same thing. So I liken that to, jokingly but half serious, make sure you get the approval of Brianna before you move forward too close or too quick. And listen, Brianna, honestly, I think wants the best for her mother. And so I don't hate her for that.
Fondest memory with Vicki?
Fondest memory? Honestly, it had to be going to her favorite respite place, and that's in Puerto Vallarta, where her dad and mom owned a place for years, helped build and construct early on, and going there every January with Vicki was very serene, surreal. It was a safe haven for Vicki. She acted like a teenage girl when she was there, and she just felt so at one with her mom, but more importantly with her dad at the time, she just enjoyed that. And so not a lot of internet connection, so not a lot of business going on, not on the phone, the computer all the time working like she does. So it was a good time to disconnect from the outside world and really just engage. And so those times there were very good.
2 questions. People have said there's too much of a coincidence that you and Vicki announced your breakup the day of the psychic episode. What do you think?
Never a good time to break up. What am I going to wait, put my life on hold in real time until after everything airs? Then it would be, she couldn't handle the stress and the pressure of him being accused of that, so they broke it off. Whatever. I was of the opinion that, listen, I'm not living my life for a TV show. I'm not living my life for manufactured drama. I know the truth. Vicki, you know the truth. We're not happy. There's never a good time. Mid-season, after the season, whatever. What do you mean break up with you right before you start filming season 11? No, it's not going to happen. I'm going to live my life, and if I'm out with other people on a date, real time when the show's airing, I'm not going to be accused as being a cheater. So I want to get the news out there, and let's be honest with ourselves, and let's know that we're not for forever, and let's begin the next phase of our lives. That's what we wanted.
Would you ever consider taking a lie detector test to prove this?
My attorney has said under no circumstance will I do a lie detector test.
That's so interesting.
It's too broad.
That's so interesting.
Why is that interesting?
Oh, just because I actually, I would always think that somebody would recommend it just because they are meant to be quite accurate. But he feels that no, it would be
too broad.
Huh,
Under the certain questions, perhaps, but at that point, it hasn't been pitched to me yet.
So interesting. Final question.
Certainly.
The reunion.
Are
you going to watch it?
With one eye open and both ears closed. I will watch it. Yes. I mean, I want to be able to see. It'll be closure for me. For me not to, I will always wonder, and I'm not that type of person. I watched Vicki the other night when she was on Watch What Happens Live, and texted her. I thought she did a good job, encouraging. So, yes, I'll watch it and see the last hurrah, if you will, or the burning at the lynch, whatever it is.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.